Bill Barretta is with us today, who's an American puppeteer, actor, producer, and director who has worked a lot with the Muppets and the Jim Henson Company and everything. How are you today, first of all?
I'm good. I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Now, for anyone that doesn't know, what are a few of your best known characters that you've performed?
Well, I've been fortunate to take on a few of Jim Henson's characters. So, of course, people usually they know the Swedish Chef right away.
Yeah.
Rowlf the Dog, Dr. Teeth, Mahna Mahna, in a much more supporting role kind of thing. And then ones that I created are Pepe the King Prawn, Bobo the Bear, Johnny Fiama, Big Mean Carl.
Oh yeah.
Those are kind of the ones that fit more into the Muppet group. And then there's others, obviously, over the years, different characters.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So, how did you first start to get into puppets when you were younger? Did you particularly want to be a puppeteer?
No, no, not at all, actually. I just wanted to entertain people. And my brother, Gene, who's 4 years older than I am, he really was the ringleader. And so whatever he decided to do, I was there with him, and he would, enlist me to be in his movies and things and make me do stuff.
Yeah.
And he's the one who wrote to Jim Henson in the early 70s, just to find out how to make a Muppet. He was curious.
Yeah.
And Jim sent him instructions back and sent him a letter and on how to make a Muppet. And so that's what we did for, I don't know, maybe a summer or a year. He and my cousin Gary really were the ones who made puppets, made the characters, and I just kind of helped. And my aunt Kathy, was a deaf mute teacher. And so she let us come to the classroom and entertain the kids, which is really cool. All of the stuff that we did was just physical, comedy.
Yeah.
And music driven. They loved confetti, things, blowing up in the air. And then they put the big speakers. Back then they had, we had huge speakers, right?
Yeah.
And they put the speaker facing the floor so that the kids could feel the vibrations better, so they could follow along to the music, on the beat.
Yeah.
But other than that, no, I had no plans on being a puppeteer at all. Until later, much later.
It's kind of weird that it was your brother that sent the letter to Jim Henson to learn puppets when it was then later you that went on to actually work with the Muppets.
Yeah, it is. It's pretty strange. I mean, he's gone on to do things that he started off doing very early in his life, which was being an artist, drawing. He was always drawing, always creating. And now he's author illustrator of children's books and all different, he's just amazing. So he could have done anything, and he followed different paths. He went to NYU and studied film and has done storyboard art for different films, and he's done animation for Sesame Street. But he's kind of landed this really sweet niche, where he's got his studio and he's creating books and he loves what he does. And I was pursuing the acting thing and moved out to California eventually in my late 20s. And Brian Henson and I had become friends over the years. We worked together in a theme park when we were 17, and we kept in touch over the next 10 years or so. And just after his father passed away is when I moved out to California. And he had come out to visit because they were working on a new show called Dinosaurs.
Yeah.
And I just kind of said, look, I'll do whatever, if there's a job, you want me to get you coffee or, pull cables, whatever. And he said, well, I don't know, you might be interested in, getting inside of this big rubber costume. I don't know if you're into that, but they had just done Ninja Turtles. And he was saying, it's this cool technology, but I don't know if you're into it. I was like, yeah, of course I'll audition,
Yeah.
So fortunately I got that gig, and that kind of led me, because it was a Disney and a Henson production, Dinosaurs. I met all the Muppet performers and we just became friends. And I guess I fit into the group and was creating characters and being silly and stupid. And then started to learn how to puppeteer a little bit,
It's quite an interesting show, Dinosaurs, because in most Henson and Muppet productions, there's kind of only really one main performer who does the voice as well, whereas Dinosaurs has the person in the suit, the person puppeteering the face, and also a separate person that just does the voice. How come they hired different people to do the voices in that show?
It's a good question. There were a few people who did, but one of the main cast obviously was Kevin Clash, who did the voice as well as perform the puppet. But then there were also other dinosaur puppets, not the walk around characters, the big suit characters, where some of the performers also did the voices occasionally. But I don't know. I think it was a choice because it was Disney and Henson that they felt that it would be great, to find some voices from well-known stars and celebrities to just add some excitement to it all. I mean, when I hear it in my head, even though that's not true. I'd have to say, because I do hear Stewart a lot. When I think about Earl, I do hear his voice, but at the same time, I hear Mac Wilson, and I hear Dave Goelz, who did the first season. I hear their version of it. And when I think of Fran, even though I know it's Jessica Walter's voice in the series, I hear Alan Troutman in my head, So to live in it for 3.5 years, hearing the voices of the people who were doing the production track, like Steve Whitmire's version of BP Richfield is locked in my head, even though Sherman Hemsley was phenomenal, right? So to me, I mean, I think of the show as I hear the performers who did it, but I also admire the people who came in and did the voices because I thought they did a great job. Not an easy thing to do.
Yeah. So how did you go from being inside a costume to actually having a puppet on your hand and performing a traditional Muppet character?
Yeah. Well, I think I was dumb enough to get in the suit. I think they were looking for people who were really stupid and that were willing to do that to themselves. So I was up for that. And then I don't know. I started just, as I would assist, I guess, because occasionally I would assist some of the puppet characters on Dinosaurs. If I wasn't inside of Earl, I would come and help do a right hand, or I would watch and observe. And so I started to enjoy it, and I started to want to try it. And so the workshop lent me a puppet, and I went home, and when I would get home from work, I would set up a camera and a little to my TV, and I would just practice. And I just thought maybe this will go somewhere, because if they're going to, when this ends, maybe I'll get to kind of do a background character or something. It'd be good to know what I'm doing, And I enjoyed being with the guys, I enjoyed hanging out with the Muppet performers. And I thought, well, boy, I'd like to try and continue that. So I just worked at it. And I know I've said this before, but the hardest part about it was, I felt pretty comfortable doing characters. Because I came from an actor's kind of place. And I felt comfortable creating characters and being that. But when I started learning how to puppeteer, a lot of the stuff that I felt comfortable about with character went away, because I was so, I was thinking about the technique, right? And how to get that great. And so my acting got and my puppeteering hopefully was getting better. And then finally, once my technical side started to get stronger, then the characters, I think, started to come back, and then I could try and find the balance of the two, But it was an interesting process to go through.
I suppose, is it kind of like learning to drive a car? First off, you're thinking about what's inside the car, and then once you've learned it, you have to kind of focus on what's outside, once what's inside is kind of become subconscious.
Yeah. Or and even like, if you're driving a car, right, you can do it in a video game, right? And you're driving and you get the idea of driving and, park and gas and brake, but you don't really think about the engine, right? You don't think of what makes the car go. And so that was kind of it. I felt comfortable being the car, but I didn't know how it worked.
So was Muppet Treasure Island when you first started to work with the Muppets, or had you done projects with that franchise before?
Yeah, I did a couple things before. I have a bad memory, but I think the first thing I think I did after Dinosaurs was a classic. What was it called? Fairy Tales, Fairy Tale
Muppet
Theater.
Classic Theater.
Muppet Classic Theater, right? And I did an Elvis elf.
Oh, nice.
In that, that was kind of my first, kind of character. I think that I did that I was nervous about doing, and I think it was the first time I worked next to Frank Oz and, Jerry Nell, all the guys. That was my first thing with the Muppets, really. And then after that, or no, sorry, I think before that we did a music video called Kokomo.
Oh, yeah.
And I did some background characters and assisted. And then I think we did the Muppet Classic Theater. And then after that came a show called Animal Show, which we shot in England. Yeah. And that was really a training ground for me. That's where I learned really how to kind of meld the two as best as learning how to meld the two, the character and the performance. Yeah. And that was a lot. I think I did like 40 characters or something. I don't know. Yeah, it was because I played most of the guest, not most of them, but a lot of the characters I did were the guests on the talk show.
All right.
It was Stinky and Jake. Do you know this? Have you ever seen this show?
No. That's one of the few shows I haven't seen. I'll have to add it to my list.
Yeah, check it out. It's called The Animal Show with Stinky and Jake. Steve Whitmire is Jake the polar bear. Great character. Dave Goelz is Stinky the skunk. Great character. And Karen Prell, Louise Gold, myself, Mac Wilson, John Heckleston. Am I getting Eccleston, not Heckleston? We didn't heckle him. Eccleston. We kind of did the other supporting characters.
Yeah.
And it's really fun. It's informational. It's for, kids, but it was great. It was a great show and it was a great learning ground, learning curve for me.
Yeah.
And then after that came Muppet Treasure Island.
Oh, yeah.
And that was my first movie character.
Yeah. So when you were working with all these puppeteers behind these characters, did you ever feel a bit starstruck? Like, oh, I'm working with Kermit the Frog?
No. I mean, I loved the idea that I was with the Muppets, but I think I was more starstruck that Frank Oz was around.
Yeah.
Because that's where I grew up wanting to be an actor and wanting to perform and be in movies right? So I associate Frank as that, Jim and Frank were probably one of the greatest pairs or comedy teams that I grew up with.
Yeah.
To me, it's like Jerry Lewis and Dean Martin, Abbott and Costello, Bert and Ernie, Frank and Jim. So I was just thrilled to meet and be around somebody like Frank. Now he's so annoying. I just don't like him anymore. I hate him. He's just annoying. I can't get rid of him.
Did you get to spend much time with him? Because the decade you joined is also when he started to perform in person less and less. Did you have enough time to sort of get to know him?
Yeah, well, like I said, the first time I met him was on Dinosaurs. And that was early. It wasn't working next to him, but he came up to me and he said, I think you're doing a great job, but just, you might want to try and connect the head to the body a little more. And I was like, what do you mean? He said, well, occasionally, if you reach up and touch the face, like people do, they scratch their chin or their cheek, or try doing that occasionally. And I think you'll find it'll bring the character. And he was absolutely right. And then Muppet Classic Theater, I got to work next to him. Muppets Tonight, we worked next to each other. Treasure Island, we got to work together. So yes, he was kind of heading more into his directing and coming out of the performing stuff, although he still did it.
Yeah.
But we just became friends over the years. I was just telling somebody, he asked me to to read the screen direction for Bowfinger. The movie Bowfinger?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
So he invited me to go to read the screen direction at a read through.
Yeah.
And I can't tell you the whole story, but anyway, that was the first time I had done anything with him that was outside of Muppets. And that was very exciting for me to be at this table with these actors and these people to do this movie. And then I was reading all of the screen direction. It was really unnerving, but exciting at the same time. As a matter of fact, when we were supposed to meet, it was at the Bel Air Hotel. And there was they have this little sweet, kind of cute diner inside.
Oh.
And he said, meet me there and we'll go over a few things before we go to the read through. And so I'm sitting there and I'm waiting and I'm having a cup of coffee, and he comes in and he sits completely at the other end of the the diner and doesn't say anything. And I'm just looking at him and waiting for him to, just to mess with me. It's just what we do to each other. And then he did some of that during the read through. He messed with me during the read through, which was another story. But yeah. But yes, I did. I've got to work with him. We've become friends over the years. He, I don't know why, but he invited me to be a part of Muppet Guys Talking, his documentary. I was thrilled to be a part of that. But we're good. We've been friends, and we're stupid together, silly.
Yeah. Well, with Muppets Tonight, you created a few new characters, including Pepe the King Prawn and Johnny Fiama and Bobo. So first of all, how did Pepe come about?
Well, geez, this is a story I've told a lot, but I don't mind telling it again because he's based on a family member. My wife, Christina, was born in Madrid, Spain, and her aunt, her mother's sister, is basically Pepe. I mean, she was really funny, really mischievous, funny lady. She had a great accent. She always ended her sentences with "okay." So I felt that was really a fun quality to her. And actually she was known as, because my wife has, I believe it's 3 family members in Spain named Maria Teresa. That was her name, Maria Teresa. She was actually known as Maria Teresa Okay, because she always would say, come on, we go to the mobile, okay? Okay. Get in the car, okay? Turn off the air conditioner, Bill, okay? Okay. But yeah, that's where he comes from my wife's aunt. Absolutely.
Did your wife's aunt take it in good spirits that you'd base this character off her?
She did. She got a kick out of it. Yeah. Yeah. Unfortunately, she passed away shortly after we did, that he came about. But she got a kick out of it. Yeah.
Another character you did was Johnny Fiama, and one of the best moments of Muppets Tonight is when he sung with the Tony Bennett that you put the coin in and he sings.
I'll say.
Yeah. What was it like to record that scene?
Man, well, that was a dream, because Tony Bennett is, my idol. I couldn't believe he was going to come do the show. And then my friend Dick Blasucci, who was the executive producer and showrunner for the show, knew that I loved Tony Bennett, and he wrote and decided that they would write an episode around Johnny, and so it was just a dream. And that moment when he presses the button and Tony comes on and sings "I Left My Heart in San Francisco" as the animatron Tony, I was supposed to do the, he stopped singing. I'm supposed to say something.
Yeah.
And I just was in tears, and I couldn't go on anymore. Everybody was waiting for me to say something. And there I was, just tears coming out of my eyes. And
wow.
We had to cut and do it again. But it was just a thrill. It was amazing. I could show you something real quick. I know people won't be able to see it, but can I show you something?
Yes, of course.
This is audio, right? We're not doing video?
Yeah, just audio.
Yeah, let me show you something. Hold on. So while we were shooting Muppets Tonight, Tony, they had a trailer outside of the stage for him, and they had a TV in there so he could see what was happening on the stage.
Yeah.
And so he came onto the stage at one point towards the end of the day, and he said, hey, Bill. I said, yeah, Tony. You think you could do me a favor? I said, sure, what is it? He goes, well, could you sign this for me? And he had been drawing Johnny and Sal and Clifford in the trailer.
Oh, lovely.
And so he came up to each one of us, Brian and myself and Kevin, and asked us to sign it. I was like, what are you kidding? You want me to sign it? What are you talking? And I said, oh, I'd really appreciate it. You guys are great.
Yeah.
And so we all signed it. And then about 5 years later, 3 to 5 years later, I went to see him in concert, and I went backstage afterwards to say hi. And he had I guess wherever he would go, he would bring his drawing, book or whatever you want to call it, pad. And this was still in it. He goes, you remember this? And I was like, yeah, man, you remember that? And he goes, yeah, I want you to have that. And he gave it to me.
Wow.
And I couldn't believe it, and now I realized it was in storage because I had moved, and I didn't realize that he had never signed it.
Oh.
I had never asked him. And so last year, 2 years ago, I asked his son, Danny, if he could get it to him and have him sign it. So he finally signed it for me.
Yeah, that's a great story.
Oh, man, the best.
Yeah. Now, you've also inherited quite a few characters, mainly from Jim Henson. Is it quite a daunting task to take on such iconic characters?
Sure. I mean, Jim Henson?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. You want to do the right thing, and you want to make sure that it's representative of what hopefully because I never worked with him. I met him twice, but I never worked with him. So I don't know the real motivations. I never got to watch him perform these characters that I do. So I learned about these characters from the people that were around him.
Yeah.
The people that worked next to him, taking up any information, sucking up anything like a sponge that I could get about him, about the characters. Dave Goles once said to me, when Jim would do Dr. Teeth, he would grin.
Yeah.
He would just, he'd be like this. And I realized that was actually a big part of it, because there's an energy to that, and it's different, it's different than Rowlf. Rowlf is rounder, and he's a little more, Rowlf's more round, playful. Yeah. And Dr. Teeth is grittier,
Yeah.
So there's a real, if I had seen him doing these things, I think I could have picked it up. But so you just try and find the essence and think about, you watch the character itself and the things that he did with them, and you try and find the essence of what that is. And at some point you have to just realize that it will never be the same.
Yeah.
It's impossible because I didn't create it.
Yeah.
I didn't create these characters. He did. And so I'm just trying to do the best kind of impersonation I can, but try, most importantly, to get the essence of the character so that it feels like him. Even if I don't sound exactly like him, it feels like him. He moves like him, that kind of stuff.
Do you feel maybe a little bit nervous about continuing to grow those characters, because sometimes they have to develop into what they would be in the modern world, but I guess it can be hard when you didn't originate them and worrying about it not being true?
Yeah, it is. It's challenging because oftentimes over the years we've had people that are kind of given the reins.
Yeah.
To decide what the script should be, or what the editing ultimately is like on a project or a film, or what the scenes are about, what they're going to do. We're certainly, the puppeteers and the performers have been consulted, and we talk about things, and that we're given certainly the opportunity to talk about. But unless you're an executive producer, which is what I've been working towards over the years, is to have an overall say in the tone of these characters, then I can, all the Muppet performers can't be executive producers together on each project, right? But if one of us is, then we know that we trust in each other to take the input.
Yeah.
Right. So I can say, you know what, guys, let's talk about all this stuff. I happen to be in this position on this project. Let's talk about it. Let's hear what the thoughts are. What should we be doing?
Yeah. Previous
to that, it wasn't always that way, right? Previous to, I'd say I'd say 5 years, maybe, is trying to go that direction, but now even more so. It was harder because it was kind of like, well, this is what it is, can we please do the lines? And boy, it's frustrating, especially for people who were these originators, Dave Goelz, right, and Steve Whitmire, and having to take some of these notes that they know isn't right for the character. It doesn't feel right to grow in that way. All characters have to grow. Otherwise, you're just the same.
Yeah.
So we're always looking to grow them, but keeping the integrity in mind and keeping in mind the tone and the essence of who the Muppets are.
Yeah. And the performers, especially people like Dave and Steve who worked on The Muppet Show, probably know more about the characters than any executive or writer, right?
Absolutely. Frank, Dave, Steve, people who were there, Jane Gutnick, workshop, people that were there, Ed Christie. I mean, there are people, not just performers, not just the producers, and there are people that, again, I've tried to gather the essence of and learn about this stuff from all of these people in the workshop, the designers, the builders. Everybody has a little piece of Jim because he was, just this amazing person. They all have something of him, Oh, that's my wife back there. That's Toby. I'm doing an interview on.
No, I didn't know if you wanted tomato bagel cheese sandwich.
I'll check in with you shortly.
Oh, I'm gonna make mine.
Okay, no, I'm okay.
Hi, Toby.
She said hi.
Oh, hi.
Okay. You do edit these things a little bit, right?
Yes, but maybe something like that could possibly be seen as funny by someone. So
you might leave that in.
Leave it in, yeah.
Okay.
So you've been a puppet captain in several projects. What actually is a puppet captain? Because that's kind of a unique thing to Muppet films, right?
Yeah, and as I get older, I prefer general. That's what I tell people.
Or admiral.
The puppet general.
Yeah.
No, well, you know what? It was. I'm not exactly sure when that position was created, although I learned it from Kevin Clash, and then aspects of it from Jane Gutnick, and then she and I kind of were partners at first in that position. And then I kind of ended up doing it. We started splitting the responsibilities, Jane and I, right? Yeah. So puppet captain is basically, it's a weird term. I don't even like it. Like, I think I would rather it be, something like Muppet liaison or something, I mean, that sounds shishi, but something that describes more of a collaborative thing amongst all the departments, because that's really what it is. It's about this person who works with the grips, right, to figure out how the sets are made, right, and what to build and how we're going to achieve certain things logistically. The guy that works with the video department, who helps figure out where the monitors need to be for the Muppet performers. The guy that works with the director to help figure out what the shot is based on what you can see and what you can see with the puppets. All these, working with the workshop. What do we need for this scene and that scene? How many puppeteers do we need for that scene? Who's doing what as a puppeteer? Who's assisting who? Working with the writers, producers, right? It's all that. It's kind of this little nucleus position that I have an understanding of all the different departments after all the years. So I don't know. It's like I don't know. I don't like puppet captain. It's just I don't like the term. So I don't know if you have an idea of a better, what else to call it. Maybe you could help me. I don't know. It's like a little, I don't know what he is. Collaborator.
Yeah. He's just Muppet director. Maybe even that would be.
Well, but not really, because, there's a director, right?
Yeah. I don't know.
So I don't know.
Yeah. Is it a relatively new thing? Because back in the day, Jim Henson would either be producing or directing anyway, so it wouldn't really matter.
Well, I that's what I'm saying. I don't know where it started, where they needed to kind of take that responsibility off of him or whoever at that time. It feels like I said, the first time I became aware of it was Kevin Clash was doing it. And that was on Muppet Treasure Island and kind of on Dinosaurs as well with Jane. Jane was in charge of the puppets on Dinosaurs. And so I think they did it maybe together, but then really watching Kevin on Muppet Treasure Island was really my first exposure to that position.
Yeah. You've done a bit of directing as well. Particularly, you did one of the episodes in The Muppets on the ABC series.
Yeah.
Did you have any experience directing before that?
Yeah, sure.
Ooh.
Well, and that's the other thing, in a way, this puppet captain position, I help directors who have never directed for the Muppets, right? Because I've learned by watching other people who have. Watching Brian, watching Kirk, working with Kirk. So I do. I direct, even though I'm not sometimes the official director. I've done Lipton tea commercial. I've done. I direct segments. Like I've directed segments for things. Trying to think. What have I? Pilots. Yeah. We did a thing, America's Next Muppet, years ago. Bobby and Samson, a show called Tinseltown, we did with Henson. So yes, over the years, and writing as well, similar as far as writing.
Yeah. Was it the Little Green Lie, the episode you directed for the Muppets?
That sounds right. Yeah. I think that's right. Yeah.
Because that was quite an interesting one, because I think there was a little bit of, it was controversy with the whole series, but there was a little bit of controversy about Kermit lying. Was that maybe a little bit harder to direct?
No, because I think we all do it. I don't know why it's so controversial. I don't know, I guess Kermit's held up to this godlike thing. But he's just a frog, and so I thought it was very natural that people make this mistake all the time. They cover to hurt someone's feelings. They tell little lies to keep someone from being hurt. And it's often misunderstanding, that gets you caught up in a lie. Yeah. And so, no, I thought it was fun. I loved that they were trying to hide this because it gets resolved, it gets resolved.
And I suppose it was a white lie. It was done with good intentions, so I guess that makes it okay.
You hope, yeah. I mean, that's the idea. And again, these are, the Muppets are flawed. Yeah. If anything, they are completely flawed, and that's what's so great about them. Yeah. And I think what people forget is that, nobody's perfect. And that's how the Muppets are. They're a mix of all kinds of creatures and beings, and they're not perfect by any means.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess that's why people like them and relate to them.
Yeah. Yep. Who do you relate to? Who's the character you relate to?
I don't know. Rowlf is my favorite, and I'm not just saying that because of present company. Just because he's kind of relaxed about things, really, I suppose.
Yeah, you feel like that's kind of a personality you're drawn to, or you feel like you are that way?
I suppose a little bit of both. Yeah.
Yeah. I tend to, people ask me who's my favorite character to perform, and I don't know if it's not a favorite, but Bobo is the most like myself, I think. Yeah. He's just kind of an easygoing, just can't believe that, they're letting him stay out of the zoo, that he's allowed to be a part of this thing. And that's how I feel a lot. Like, I can't believe I'm doing what I'm doing. Yeah. But his attitude is very relaxed, easygoing, whatever, whatever you want to do,
Yeah. Vocally, he's quite similar to Rowlf a bit, isn't he? Is there a difference in your mind?
Well, yeah, it's character. It's about the character. And it's funny because I didn't think I would ever be doing Rowlf or Dr. Teeth at the time when we did Muppets Tonight. And I felt like when I would do these Muppet projects that we did, that there wasn't that quality, that Jim quality. Nobody was kind of doing that gruff character that Jim had done for so many different characters, And so on Muppets Tonight, I thought, well, maybe I'll just do this will be my little tribute to him. Yeah. I'll try and do something that's a little, kind of like a Jim voice, Yeah. And so I started doing that, and then people were like, "Oh, maybe you should do Rowlf." Yeah. And I was like, "Oh no, how am I going to differentiate?" And because at the time I didn't know, I wasn't thinking how much it is about the character and not just the voice. Yeah. The voice is really 10-15%, and the rest is all about character. Yeah. And so they're just different. Rowlf has a different philosophy, and he's a little more bouncy. He's a little more kind of like easy going. As well. He's easy going, but then Bobo is a little bit just lower, but he's just a little more straight.
Yeah.
Just he's just kind of okay, sure, whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
And then Dr. Teeth obviously is that gritty kind of energy, a different energy. But yeah, it's about the characters.
Yeah, I love that in the 2011 Muppets movie, it took Bobo about an hour into the film to think, are we working for the bad guy?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he's pretty dim.
Yeah. And another character that you've taken over from Jim Henson is the Swedish Chef. What's it like to perform him? Because he seems like it'd be quite fun.
It is. It's a lot of fun. Because we still try and keep up that tradition that Jim and Frank did, which was Jim operated, the character, the body, and did the head and the voice, and then Frank did the hands. And they didn't always know what the other was going to do. That great, do you ever do that game where you put your arms behind your back and somebody sticks, right? And somebody puts their hands through and they do your hands. Well, that's the tradition. And so for years it was Steve and I, and then it became Peter Linz and I. And so we have a lot of fun doing it because Peter's amazing and he always has fun things going on. So we'll talk to each other about what the beats we need to hit.
Yeah. And
then we'll just go for it. And then we'll kind of say, okay, that worked. Let's try and keep that, but still keeping it unexpected.
Yeah.
But it's interesting whenever I get a script, people don't know whether to try and write the words for him, and usually what I just ask is if people will just write what you want him to say.
Yeah.
And then let me kind of figure it out, because sometimes there are certain words that I like to use that help me, without being really clear, trying to, the trick is to interpret the dialogue through behavior and then nonsense words that you think what he's talking about. So milk is usually moo moo, or I don't know. It just depends. And so that's the thing. I like to just take the dialogue and then I try and figure out how would he say this and how ridiculous does it sound? And then of course, most importantly, how am I conveying it visually? Because that's really what he is. He's a visual character.
How did you learn mock Swedish to improvise with him? Did you watch Jim Henson, or did you do what he did originally and listen to tapes of mock Swedish?
No, I didn't have access to those, but it was just about watching Jim.
Yeah.
And then hopefully trying to figure out how to then make it my own with still, again, the essence of Jim and his version of the chef and, tonally keeping it there. But I just watching him and just trying to be absurd, the absurd side of Jim, whatever that is.
Is the Swedish Chef married? Because he has a wedding ring, but I don't know if that's just because of the performer anyway.
I don't know. You'd have to ask him.
Oh, I feel like you would know him quite well. I don't know if
we've met, but he doesn't tell me everything.
Yeah, I don't know.
And plus, I don't understand him. Even if you asked him, you wouldn't know what he's talking about.
You've also taken over Mahna Mahna for a few kind of events and stuff, live events.
Yeah.
For a lot of people, that's one of the best known sketches of the Muppets. So what's it like to take on a character that he's not major, but everybody knows him?
Yeah, everybody knows it. Yeah. Well, that was something I just really wanted to, as far as the routine goes.
Yeah.
I wanted to do that exactly like Jim as best I could. That was my thinking. The first time I ever did it live, wait, was that live or did we pre-record it and play it? Can't remember now. I think either way I did the voice as well, but we did a live show. I can't think of it. It was a Muppet. Muppet Fest.
Oh yeah.
We did something called Muppet Fest, and we did a show for charity, a live show, and it was the first time I did that routine, and I wanted it to be exactly like Jim's performance, and I got the best compliment. Jerry Nelson said, that was Jim, right? And I was like, no, he said, wow. He said, that was really good, Bill. That was really good. So, that was a huge compliment for me. And so from then on, I just always tried to keep it as close to him, because Mahna Mahna doesn't really do anything else except perform that song. So I just like to keep it as close to him as possible.
Yeah, because the only time you're going to perform him is for that song. So
pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, you don't need to do any character development.
Yeah, it's not like he's talking about, what sandwich he's going to make or something. He just says Mahna Mahna.
That's it. And Dr. Teeth as well. Is he quite exhausting to do? Because he's really loud and everything like that.
The energy. That's the thing. Dr. Teeth has a lot of energy. I probably don't put as much into it as Jim did, but I try. And it's harder on the voice, and it's a hard angle, right? Yeah. So if you look at his posture, his body is like that. And so that forces you to put more weight on your forearm when you're doing it. So it's tiring. It's even more tiring. And he's heavy. He's heavy-ish. Yeah.
And who is Topo Sticky? Because you've done a few videos with Pepe the King Prawn and Topo Sticky. Who came up with that idea?
That is from the insane mind of Kirk Thatcher. Do you know Kirk?
Yes, the director who's done a few things.
Yes, designer, director, artist, insane person. Kirk Thatcher. It was his idea. I don't know why. I don't know what made him think of it, but he just thought, I think it was probably to torture me, to get me to do both, because I do both voices, right? So I'm doing it in the moment. And Dave Goles, when we first did, I think he's the only one who's done Topo Sticky. Dave Goles does the hand of that holds Topo. And so that was just a lot of fun, because I was making stuff up too. Like we had a script, we had an idea, but then I improvised, and Dave did some funny things where, like a ventriloquist character is always played out, right? Yeah. It's always out to the audience. And Topo actually talks to Pepe, which is Dave's choice, is to have him talk right at Pepe instead of out to the audience for the team. So that cracked me up. But yeah, he's Pepe's little ventriloquist stick. Yeah. And then I don't know. And then it went even more bizarre. Again, this is Kirk. Then he was actually not Topo. He's like a guy named Remington something. Yeah. I don't know. So ridiculous. I'm Remington. So I don't know why it's Kirk. He's insane. Yeah.
I've seen a few pictures of him. He looks like Dr. Teeth, actually, with hats on and everything.
Yeah, he's like a happy, big, jolly pirate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a film you worked on a few years ago was The Happy Time Murders. Was that a fun film to work on? Because of edits and stuff, it didn't end up being the film that Brian initially intended to make.
Yeah, no, it was a great film to work on. I had a ball. I had a blast. I had a great time improvising with Melissa, and Ben Falcone, who was on it as a producer, and Maya Rudolph, and all of the actors on it were phenomenal. We had so much fun, and we really built relationships, that we shot. There was a lot there, and just unfortunately the choices were made after to cut things and to change things, and a different film than Brian intended, but still, there's still great stuff in it. I think there's great puppeteer work in there by everybody. All the puppeteers involved were amazing. But yeah, it could have been a more rounded, full film that was intended and written.
And I think there's still the problem that Jim had in the 70s of this perception that puppets are for kids. So to see a film where puppets are investigating murders and doing some blue stuff, people...
Definitely for adults.
Yeah, people would be surprised by.
Definitely rated R. Yeah. I don't know if he would be surprised or if he would think it's fun and crazy and timely or not. I don't know. It was Brian's choice. I think Brian felt comfortable doing it, and I don't know. Why not? It's crazy.
Seeing how far you can push it.
Yeah, everything is possible. So it depends on who you're trying to show it to, I guess.
Yeah.
As long as little kids aren't watching it, it's okay by me.
Yeah, well, they can't see it at the cinema legally anyway, so
yeah, sure,
that's fine.
Yeah.
Do you feel that your characters that you've inherited, like Rowlf, have developed their own traits other than Jim made?
Have they really developed newer traits? I don't know about new traits, like new ongoing traits, but I think they've had new perspectives on things. Occasionally that I'm trying to think of an example, but I feel like, yes, they've evolved in some way, but I don't think it's changed who they are. It's more about what they've done or things that they do or things that they get involved with, or, if there's something they get involved with and they're unsure about it, I try and figure out how to get them back to who they are. It's like they're trying something, here's something new. Okay, either that's a good thing or it's a bad thing, and try to adjust for that. But I can't think of an existing trait that they've taken on that's new. I don't think so. Well, I mean, Dr. Teeth has a little more vibrato in his voice, maybe. When he sings, he's a little more. I think when he sings, I just like that. I just like the quality of a soft vibrato at times, that helps bridge things musically. And I'm not sure if Jim necessarily intended him to be that way. He's a little more hard, a little more punchy. But I've tried to find ways of balancing and finding a little bit softer side to him, a little more vibrato, a little more,
Does singing come naturally? Because you are the lead singer of this world famous rock band. Do you feel comfortable recording songs?
I do. I love singing. Yeah, I do. I don't know how good I am, but I like doing it. It's always something I've liked to do ever since I was a kid. My brother played the guitar, and so we always harmonized and sang together, and with our friends and our family. And so I enjoy doing it. It's, how do I kind of use it for the Muppets? And the Muppets are very forgiving when it comes to music, because it's about the characters. And so they don't have to be the greatest singers in the world. They just have to convey a feeling.
Yeah, because you're a puppeteer first, an actor second, and I don't know if singer makes the top 10, but
Well, I might flip that, actually. I think I'm an actor first, and then a puppeteer, just because I think my characters are rooted in and grounded in the ideas of a certain style of acting, that I like to think that they're grounded and rooted first. And I think that has to come from acting to help create and support whatever's on your arm. I think you need that base, so I would think I'm an actor first, puppeteer, and then yes, I guess a singer, if that's a thing.
Maybe. Well,
for me,
a song you sung on actually won an Oscar, so you can't be doing that bad.
Man or Muppet?
Yes. You're the guy that goes, "Am I a Muppet?" So you've won your Oscar for that.
Yeah, where is my Oscar, by the way?
I don't know. Did they just give it to Brett and then that's it?
Maybe. I didn't get one. They didn't send me one.
Yeah.
Huh. I wonder if Jason Segel got one. And Peter Linz. I wonder if he got one.
I don't know, because do they make multiple Oscars for the same award? Because I'd have guessed maybe
They better.
You could cut it up into little bits and each take...
Yeah, just give me the head. I'll take the head or the arm.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, because you've got so much stuff in that room, but all it's missing is the head of an Oscar.
I just need the head or arm of an Oscar. Or the wing. Wait, is that an Oscar? No, Oscars don't have wings.
No, I don't think they do, no.
Yeah.
How's it all been for COVID? Because you've been filming some stuff for certain chat shows and stuff with the Muppets, right?
Yeah.
So how have you been doing that from home? Do you have professional cameras, or are you filming it all on your phone? Is it live?
They send us some equipment. Ooh. So we'll use, iPhone 4K, quality cameras as far as using an iPhone. That's worked great.
Yeah.
Sometimes we use green screen. We'll set up a green screen in our home here.
Oh, nice.
or I'll use sometimes I use locations of my house, depending on what works, a wall or a kitchen or something. But we've done, live Zoom stuff, right? So it's just that. Or when we do things like we did ABC Special, we did Sing-Along, ABC Sing-Along. Yeah. That was all shot on our iPhones, everybody, is about how do we pull all this together, which I was involved in producing that stuff and pulling it together. And so really it's been challenging, but I think we're all getting used to it to a certain degree.
Yeah.
It's certainly easier sometimes than having to go to a set,
That's true.
And with COVID, it's been really kind of scary and unsettling for many people. So we're just trying to stay safe and create what we can while we can.
Yeah, because I'm guessing you can't go to a studio place and film stuff together, so it must be kind of worrying, like, when's the next time that we can all meet up again?
Well, we've done a few things. All of us have at some point been somewhere briefly for some shoots, but not long periods of time.
Yeah.
Some of us a little bit longer. But I myself have only been to a stage one. I've been to a stage once in a year.
Ooh, yeah. I think Sesame Street's started back, but all socially distanced and masks and everything.
Yeah, that's the thing. And there's a very strict protocol as to what you do when you arrive and when you're tested before you start, and when every 3 days you get tested, and everybody on the set is wearing a mask or a shield, and the area where you're shooting, people can't come into that area unless they've got a shield on. It's very specific protocol.
Yeah. And you actually worked on Sesame Street for a little while, because you were the original performer of Elmo's dad, Louie, weren't you?
I was, yeah. I did home video stuff. I didn't really do Sesame Street, but I did home video, and I loved it. I had a ball. Yeah. I had so much fun doing that. We had a good time.
And I guess, is it just because you live on the West Coast that it's kind of impractical to regularly be part of Sesame Street?
Well, at the time, they didn't want to keep sending me across the country. So instead of getting caught up in that, I just didn't want to get caught up in the debate of all of that business stuff about cost and I just thought, you know what, Tyler Bunch is amazing. If he's into it and if he can find it, I think it'd be great if he did it. So we talked about it, and I thought, yeah, please, why don't you try and get this, And so he took it on. But I loved it. I just loved the character. He reminds me of one of my favorite performers ever, is a guy named Louis Prima.
Oh, yeah.
That's who he's based on.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Well, are you able to do any impressions of Muppet characters that aren't your own? Because people do impressions of Muppets all the time, and I'm wondering if you can do any other characters.
I don't know. Sometimes in a read through, if somebody's not available, we do it, but I don't think we're good enough to do it. I don't know who I would do. Maybe Kermit. I don't know if this is Hey-oh. I don't know if that's any good.
I can see why you didn't get the job.
Yeah, there you go. Well done. I see. So you just asked me this question just so you could knock me down. Let me see. Who else? No, I don't. No, I really don't have it. I really don't. Don't try. I don't normally try. Yeah, no, I guess I don't.
I get you say that, but then in a few years you'll have taken over some other character that you had no idea, just like Rowlf.
Maybe, I don't know. I don't know who else though. But I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe the newsman. I don't know if he's in there or not. But
maybe. Are there any highlights that stand out to you since you've been performing over the years? Have you met really famous people and been honored by it?
Well, yeah. I mean, you meet all kinds of people. I remember on. Am I going to get this right? I don't want to screw this up, but it was really sweet and important when we did Muppets from Space.
Oh.
There was this very sweet girl. I believe it was a Make-A-Wish situation, and she came to the set, and I gave her a sheep to perform at the dinner table or the breakfast table. So she came under there with us, and she hung out with us, and it's when I was doing my for captain stuff. And I just thought, let's just keep her around, And so she came under the table and she was with us, and you'll see there's a sheep that's at the table. And I'm so sorry, I can't remember her name, but those are the moments that are amazing, to see somebody that just is so happy, makes you think how great this stuff is sometimes.
Yeah, never knew that. That's an interesting story. I'll have to look out for that the next time I see the film or the scene.
Yeah, it was a little, if I can remember, I believe Kermit is at the head of the table, and she's kind of almost at the other end, but on the side of the table. And it's to his, so if you're facing Kermit, it's to his left or our right. She's on that side. And there might even be, if you look on, for some reason, I think there's a photo of people under the table. And she has a little hat on. Sweet little girl. Sweet girl. I think she was maybe 13, something like that. Yeah.
Interesting. Well, you're probably not allowed to answer this, but what's next for the Muppets? What's coming up?
None of your business. Who hears this? You have to take that out or bleep it.
Yes, well.
Okay. What's next?
Yeah.
More.
Ah, good answer.
More.
That's what we want to hear.
Yep, there's more.
Yeah.
So hang in there.
That's always
coming.
Good. The Muppets are not dead, folks.
That's right. Just let them know they're still around. There's more to come.
Yeah. And during this last year or so, you've also been working on your, I believe the word for it would be vodcast, the Beretta Brothers with your brother Gene, and you've had all sorts of guests on.
Yeah.
Has this been something you've been wanting to do for a while, or was it just the pandemic hit and you wanted to have something to do?
Yeah, well, Gene and I have always wanted to work together, in some way in our adult lives. And so it just, because of what was happening, COVID world, we just thought, what can we do? Yeah. And we thought maybe it would be fun. Let's try it and see what happens. And it's been a lot of fun. It's been great. Well, it's quite a bit of work, as you know, to pull things together and to get it all out there. And it's, the hope is that you're going to gain some momentum and, notoriety with it so that people can hear all these fun stories. And, we wish it was bigger than it is at the moment, but we're now broadening. We're going to, it'll be on podcast as well now, so more people can listen to it, not feel like they have to watch it to see it.
Yeah.
So we're going to kind of just broaden the spectrum a little more, and hopefully it'll get out there more. And then we just took a hiatus, actually, because we've done 45 shows, I think, over the last year. So we thought, and some of them are, 2 hours, some are a little longer, but we thought, let's just take a little break, and because I'm a little busy on some stuff. He's busy. He's got some new books that are coming that he's working on. So we're going to take a little break. I don't know how long, probably not that long, but enough to get the podcast going out there and seeing what that does. And if it brings us some more viewers, and then we'll come back and do some more.
Yeah. And hopefully some more interesting guests on the way, because you've had amazing people that, the average person like me wouldn't be able to book. You've had like Ricky Gervais and Kevin Bishop and all sorts of Muppets people as well. Yeah,
it's been quite a mix. We had, Danny Trejo, and because we had him and his friends came on because they love him so much. His cousin, and Robert Rodriguez, and then John Voight, and it's just been really a lot of fun. Bobby Moynihan from Saturday Night Live, but then getting people like, Jane Gutnick to come on, Fran Brill, Frank and Dave, annoying. They asked to be on. I had to do it. But so many different people, artists and friends have come on. We had Benjamin Franklin.
Oh, really?
Yes, he showed up. I don't know how it happened, but Benjamin Franklin was with us. Santa Claus joined us.
Did you have a psychic medium on the show as well that day, perhaps?
No, they would. I don't know the connection. I think Gene had a connection somehow to somebody who knew them. And, but for Ben Franklin to show up, and he still looks good. He still has skin, it's amazing.
I mean, he's obviously not left the house at the moment because he's high risk. How many 100 years old is he?
I'm not sure. He must have every disease at this point possible, right? I mean, it's over. How old is he? 300 and some years old or something?
Yeah, that must be about right.
Yeah. Anyway, he looked great. He's
first in line for the vaccine as well.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah. But he looked good. I don't think he's worried about it. But yeah, so we've had a lot of great, fun guests, and hopefully we'll just keep getting more.
Yeah. Well, where are the listeners able to keep up with you? Is there any way we can do that?
Thank you very much, Toby. Yes, the BarrettaBrothers.com, BARRETTA, the BarrettaBrothers.com. And that's our website where you can find all of the past episodes that we've done, some gallery fun stuff in there. And then you can check out my brother's webpage, GeneBarretta.com. He's got great stuff there if you're interested in books for your family and presents, and his artwork is just amazing. So please check that out too. Yeah. He doesn't smell very good, but he's a great artist.
Well, it's good that we can't really meet him in person these days anyway, so we won't have to worry about that.
Yeah, you don't have to worry. And actually, he used to be a vegan. Now he's eating a little more like protein, some fish, maybe a little chicken. So it's good. I'm really happy for him. I feel good. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for coming on the show today. It's been great talking to you.
Thank you, Toby. It's been great hanging with you. Great questions, and thank you so much.